Okay. All right, we're going to get going here. I'm going to move us back to Genesis now because we're going to talk about this fruit and what you're seeing right here, how it relates to this apple. It's an incredible connection here. I do want to clarify something for somebody right here real quick. And somebody was saying that what I was showing here in connection with the flower of life wasn't entirely consistent with the flower of life because he said the flower of life has a center. Well, what you're doing is you're not seeing exactly what's going on here. At this point, we're looking at a 2D flat representation, okay, that's dealing with this crop circle right here. And this crop circle here, it's showing us two independent tetrahedrons, but it's not showing us in 3D, it's only showing us in 2D. So what we have is two overlapping tetrahedrons, as above, so too below, at this point. Now when we three-dimensionalize the tetrahedrons and superimpose them, then we have tetrahedrals. And that's what we'll get into later as this ties up with the poles of the planet. So at this point, you're looking at a seal representing the overlay of the spirit laws into a material cohesive application. Okay, so one of these represents a spiritual dominion, and then one of these represents a material dominion. Still at this point, equationally separate, they're in an overlay. Okay, and as I'm viewing them, at this point, we're still looking at tetrahedrons, but just in the 2D. Now, when we three-dimensionalize, like I said, it turns into a tetrahedral, and then we align these to the poles. When we do that, and we'll talk about that later, this is what you'll be looking at. You're going to be looking at the flower of life, which still fills itself in the hexagon, which still fulfills itself in the crystal, which is going to fulfill itself in the atom, which is going to fulfill itself in the cube, which fulfills itself at the pole of any planet within our solar system, and I would imagine outside of our solar system also, and this is where it's going to connect to 19.5. Now, it doesn't mean because this fulfills itself at the pole that there's something bad going on. It actually means that there's something good going on, but it does equationally equate back to this cube right here in relation to our dimensionality. But the cube itself has 6 portions, not just 4, so they're keeping us in the lower half, which is the 4 dimensions, which is material space. And material space can be quantified, but this quantify is always going to be quantifying its limits, like its melting point, that's a limit. The amount of atoms, that's a limit. So when you quantify something, you're actually trying to achieve the knowledge of its limits, not the knowledge of its potentials, and that's why the material sciences have got it all wrong. So what the spirit does is it qualifies. It can't be quantified because quantify is dealing with a material concept created by a human consciousness as it perceives the material world. But the qualify is what we're missing. When you qualify or you associate quality, the quality is not necessarily the thing itself, it's the value that the thing itself has to you. And if you can see the value within the thing, it begins to turn into the quality of the thing, not the quantity of the thing. So as I say that the material world is really just a vessel that's created for the occupation of spirit energy, either conscious spirit energy or unconscious spirit energy. Nonetheless, it's still fulfilling a pattern of energy association as it attaches itself to material matter. So at this point, what we're really looking at, we're looking at the way that this seal is operating even on the planets when we look at the poles. So we'll talk about that later. But what I want to tell you now is that you're really, my friend, looking at the polar portion of this. So you're looking at this point, looking down straight at it, and you're seeing this around. It still is the flower of life. Just like I said, doesn't matter if you 2D it or 3D it. So at this point, this would be the center of this triangle as it's coming up to a point right here. And when you do, you see the same flower of life shape as it goes all the way around. We've got one at a north latitude, and we've got one at a south latitude, and we'll talk about that with 19.5. It's the same 3 points, and then the pole cancels out these points. I'll be back.